In this tutorial, you'll be learning how to make fire like this, and this. This is actually what you will get after completing the tutorial. But before we start, I must warn you about its limitations. The first one being that it only works with VDB files, so I highly recommend you to use Embergen for this. And the second limitation is that it only works for Eevee, and the final limitation is that it only works in Blender versions 4.2 to 4.5. So let's get started. Alright guys, so the first thing you want to do is Shift A, search, import, open VDB. Then you have to find the VDB files which I've linked in the description below, and select all of them with A and import. Move this and you see this here. Keep this at the center, and then I'll just add a cube and give it the volume to mesh modifier, which does exactly what it says in the name. It converts this into a mesh, and that looks pretty good. But if you look at the poly count, 357,000, which is fine sometimes, but in case it's a lot for you, there's a fix for this, and it might even make it look better. So the fix is basically adding the remesh modifier, and adding this will definitely cause your Blender to lag, or yep, might do that, and you'll see that 31 million polygons. Oh my god, that's way too much. Nope. Obviously the max you can go with this is 2 meters, and this is pretty good. Like, this is the lowest you can go, 50,000 triangles. So 2 meters is fine, but I personally prefer a lot more detail in my fire, and my PC can handle it. So, and then enable smooth shading, and it looks pretty good. That's lovely. And so I can select the VDB, and in the data properties I'm going to select this and change it to repeat, and then I'm going to reduce the frame count to 1 so that I can animate this value and it will actually change, like it will play it back accordingly. So this begins on frame 1, right, and this begins on -1 value. So that means if I want to go 200, because this thing has got 200 frames, so I'll just first of all keep this at 200, and then I'll just select the VDB again and plus 200, 199. Okay, wait, it's counting -1 as the first frame, so it should be 198. Yep, that's perfect. Anyway, so you can just select this keyframe and change the interpolation to linear, and for me it's already done that way, but for you it might not be like that, so just change it. So then I'll just go to the graph animation section and modifiers, add modifier, stepped interpolation. So what this will do is give it a choppy FPS Spyro style look, which is really good. Like, it looks really good on this fire, but since our FPS is very low, you can't really tell. But if I slowly move the playhead, you'll see that it's repeating a frame, which is exactly what we need. But you might be asking, how do we fix the low FPS? Because this is just not done. We can't work like this. So I'll just select this, F4, export, Alembic, and then I'll just name it Stylized Fire Mesh. That works. Check if this is correct. Yep, it is. You might want to check this just in case you've got any other objects in your scene. So then you can just export, and then you can just wait for it to finish. Alright, so it's done exporting, and I can just add it back to the scene like this, and so it's here. So I'll just go ahead and disable the original fire mesh, and I'll just play this. So we can see there's 24 FPS here, which is exactly what we need. But in case if you do get like 12 FPS or something, you might want to just run the entire thing and it'll just get baked into your memory. So that should fix the issue. So now that we are done with the mesh, now it's time to move on to the material. Alright, so I'm in the shader tab, and I'll just select this, new material, and then I'll just add a shader to RGB node, right there, and followed by a color ramp, which is set to constant. And as you'll see, it looks a bit stylized, you know? Like if I just make this orange, and I'll just add another shade, which is a darker orange, you'll see it's doing something. I'll just add a few more shades and make it look better, more detailed perhaps. So I can just make this a very dark shade of brown, like a very dark shade but not quite black. And I just put that somewhere over there. And then maybe, yeah, just a lighter version of what we did here. This is fine. And this can obviously be like the brightest orange, but maybe not too bright. And oh wait, it looks weird. And that's because I need to change the color management to standard, because AGX sucks in my opinion. Like look how vibrant this looks now. Yeah, anyway, so I'll just make some more adjustments to the colors. And you can follow your own color palette. In fact, get creative, don't just copy me. But it's completely fine if you do. Anyway, so this is a pretty nice color palette, but the fire still looks weird. Well, that's because of the surrounding HDRI lights. So if I just switch to this will turn black, because this is the color that defines it. And as you add lights and increase their values, you'll see that it starts actually showing the true colors, one could say. And of course, this is way too bright. I mean, if I just put anything else here, you'll see the light is ridiculously high value. So I'll just add a human for scale. I'll just use Blender Kit for that. Oh my god, this fire is quite huge, man. What the hell? But yeah, so I'll just reduce it to something that's not ridiculous. This works. And so, as you'll see, now this is way too bright. I can just reduce this and it's fine now. And that looks pretty okay, I think. But we can definitely improve it, like a ton. So we are going to add another principled VSDF. And why would I do this, you may ask? Well, it's because I can now do this. But then why not just add an emission shader? Well, because, I don't know, this just looks better and it gives you more control. Like, we are also going to be giving the smoke part of the fire, like, a transparent effect, for which we will need this alpha thingy. So, I'll just position the light properly. Maybe decrease it, keep it there. Yeah, something like that. And then I can just increase the value. And I'll just show you how to do it. Glare, bloom, done. That's it. Alright, so I've adjusted the lighting a little. Like, I switched from points to area because this gives me more control. Maybe decrease it. Yeah, that's nice. And I'll just Alt-D, shift this light here. And you don't have to light all parts if that part's not going to be visible in the camera. But if it is, then you can just keep adding lights till it looks natural. Now this is pretty good. But we don't really want these lights to be bouncing on anything apart from the fire. So I'll just use something called light linking. So we'll just go in shading, light linking, and then just select the fire, select the light. So let's just go to the outliner and select the fire mesh, drag it here, and as you can see, it's only working on the fire. But I forgot to do this before, so my recommendation is to first create the light linking collection and then duplicate it, because then otherwise you'll have to manually add each one. So don't make the same mistake I made just now. And I am leaving this in so that you guys can learn from it. And you guys can also add the shadow linking thing because who wants unnecessary shadows, right? That will just fill up your shadow pool and, well, cause rendering issues. Yeah, so this is nice. This is fine. We need to enable ray tracing. So, in case you hadn't done that already, now's the time to do it. So you can see that it's actually emitting its light on its surroundings. And that's exactly what we need. And in case it doesn't look like this, maybe you've got your render method set to blended. And if that's the case, then it's not going to reflect any light. And I'll just add a gradient texture. Set this to spherical. Then just connect the color to the alpha. So I hope you have the Node Wrangler add-on. And in case you don't, you can just go and edit Preferences, Node Wrangler. It's right there. So it comes with Blender, which is a good thing. And then I'll just press Ctrl T. This will give you the mapping node, which you can adjust to make it look right. If you look at it from the top, it's you can tell like from where it's transparent, and you don't want any transparency on the sides, on the surrounding sides here. So yeah, I've adjusted it and it looks fine, but you can adjust it even more by adding a color ramp and tweaking that as well. There's a lot of tweaking to be done here, but that's just part of doing new things. Yeah, so that looks pretty fine for now. Maybe I'll just make this gray and it'll look okay-ish. Alright, so then you can just connect the color ramp to the original principal BSDF node. And honestly, I'm not sure why we do this, but I was fucking around and this worked pretty well, so it works. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I don't know the logic behind this, but yeah. So then, now it looks much better. Like, if I just Control Z, it looks weird. And now it's got that proper smoke texture, which is exactly what we need. And I'll just show you what this looks like with the blended mode. It looks quite nice, actually. Wait, let me just disable this. Yeah. And now it looks very stylized, you know? Of course, you'll have to adjust settings for this if you're aiming for this look. But I also recommend just sticking to the dithered render mode, because with that you get the reflection of the fire. So yeah, we've got this, and this looks pretty nice. Again, we can make this better. Like, now I'm going to add something really cool, which is basically a heat effect, a heat distortion effect, but it's on the fire itself. So I'll just add this, and it's going to look very weird in a sec. So I can fix this by adding a mix color node, and then plug this down here, and plug this into A. Then I'll just change it up a bit. So then I can change this to 40 and maybe adjust the scale a little. I adjusted it to like 0.4 off camera, but I'm showing this to you now. I'll put the roughness to 0, but you can experiment and change accordingly. But I prefer my roughness at 0. So I'll just click this, then add a driver by typing hashtag frame and then /2, because if you don't have the /2 thingy, then it's going to go very fast. Like, the distortion effect will be sped up, which will look really bad. So hashtag frame /2. This will automatically increase the value like every frame. Like, if I move one frame, it will increase by 0.5. And so I'll just play this, and you can see a bit of a distortion effect going on in there. But we can make this even more visible by adding another noise texture. So I just duplicate this, put this there, drag this up, maybe, and add another noise texture. Pull this a bit behind. I'll also change this position. Yeah, so I'll increase the scale for this. Maybe something like 13, 14. I think 13 works best. 13.5. Yeah, that's nice. And you can see that something's happening here. But to animate this, we'll change this to 40 again. And then same as before, hashtag frame divided by 2. And there we go. Now you can actually see it distort and stuff. And that's pretty nice. But we can make one last change to it. And then we'll be completely done with the shader setup. I'll just press Ctrl T. So I'll just click this. And then hashtag frame divided by 200. Boom. Mic drop. Why 200? Well, if you keep it too high, it's gonna be very fast. Trust me, I tried. But yeah, so now you can see there's even more weird distortion happening, which I absolutely adore. Like, this feels very complete now. And if I just turn around, this looks weird, but can be fixed by just bringing this closer, moving it, adding more. But let's just assume that our camera is going to face this side only. So then we don't need to give a shit about the other sides. So we're done with the material as well. But there's one last thing we need to do to really sell the effect. And that effect is the heat distortion thingy, which you see in desserts and stuff, or basically any moderately sized fire. So I'll just add this cube, make it thin like I did just now here, and add a material. I'll just remove the principal to BSDF, add a refraction BSDF, and then I'll connect this to bump, and then I'll drag this and add a noise texture. And again, we'll be making this 40 and hashtag frame. But you'll notice that you can't actually see anything through this thing. And that's because you need to change the thickness from sphere to slab. Wait, why can't I still see anything? Oh, right. Ray trace transmission. My bad. I'm so stupid sometimes. Yeah, so this should make it visible. Like, I need to reduce the strength because that's way too much. And increase the distance. Something like that works. And then if I hit play, then you'll see like there's some actual distortion happening. Now that feels like a bit too much, so I'll maybe increase the scale. Oh wow, that's so good, that's so good. But you can always decrease the strength. But to me, this looks really good. Now we are in the final stretch. Let's just take the strength down for this thing. And now it's full black, which is really nice. And then I can just go to Compositing, add a Kuwahara node. It's on anisotropic, good. Keep this on 2, that works pretty fine. And then you can just add a mix color node. Then from here we'll add another Kuwahara. This time it will have much higher intensity, like something like 18 works. And then maybe just increase this a little. And it's white because we need to render it. So let's just add a camera to the scene. Shift A, camera. I'll just position it. Wait, why is it white? Alright, so you also need to plug it in here. And now that should fix it. Yeah. So I'll just drag this down here. The fire looks a bit weird, but it's because I changed some settings off camera because I actually don't know, just goofing around I guess. So I just fixed this in a bit. This is pretty good. So if I hit render, it would take some time. Oh, never mind, that was quick. Yeah, so this is without the filter, which is fine, it still looks alright, but this really smooths it out, and if you were to add characters and other objects like the environment stuff, then it would look pretty sick. So yeah, that's it, that's the tutorial. So now you must be having something like this, and the wet flow material in this render is from Blender Kit, and the fog was added with a volume scatter node applied to a cube. So thank you, and please check out my Patreon if you want to support me, and goodbye.